This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion. Across the landscape that we all live every day, the constant flow of information, and an insanity level that seems to be ratcheting up. Everything seems to be ratcheting up. In that minefield, finding peace, I would argue, is the primary goal. How do you find some peace of mind given the course of the day? Now, if you have chosen to simply work for the man, I get it. Sometimes you have to do that. I did that a long time ago for a brief period of time. But you only have one life. And if you go through life only working for the man, only saying yes, sir, to an asshole. I mean, maybe the man's not an asshole. That's not necessarily fair, right? Not all bosses are, quote, assholes. I'm aware of that. But generally speaking, it's a fair assessment. But to go through life like that, where do you get the energy? Where do you get the stamina? Where do you get the excitement? That feeling that just makes you go every day. Come on, that's what's so valuable about life. That feeling. I want to share with you today a letter and a few chapters from a book that I find quite fun. But first, the letter. The letter is written by the writer Frank Herbert. Frank wrote the book Dune and the assorted other Dune books, which became the basis of the movie Dune. Now, I first got turned on to the idea of Dune, and I did watch the recent new Hollywood movie. It's not my cup of tea. But I got turned on to what Dune was, the book, and I've not read the book. But I got turned on to it by a director, a Mexican director named Alejandro Jodorowsky. A fantastic documentary that you must watch if you want some of that life attitude. And I'm not endorsing Jodorowsky's work. I've tried to watch some of his movies, and they appear to be batshit crazy. Not my cup of tea either. But there's this great documentary about how Jodorowsky wanted to make the film version of Dune. And he goes through his whole process. His process of falling in love with the idea, his process of assembling a team. And the guy's just vital. He oozes vitality. Even if it's in a field or something you don't care for, or a topic that you don't care for. I don't really care about the topic Dune. But I respect, like hell, the energy, the creative energy, the passion that comes from somebody like an Alejandro Jodorowsky. And even though he didn't make the film, the documentary film about him failing to make the Dune film is fabulous, worth your watch. That brings me to the Frank Herbert letter. Let me read it, and I will try to keep my commentary to a minimum. When I was writing Dune, there was no room in my mind for concerns about the book's success or failure. I was concerned only with the writing. 6 years of research had preceded the day I sat down to put the story together, and the interweaving of the many plot layers I had planned required a certain degree of concentration I had never before experienced. It was to be a story exploring the myth of the Messiah. It was to produce another view of a human-occupied planet as an energy machine. It was to penetrate the interlocked workings of politics and economics. It was to be an examination of absolute prediction and its pitfalls. It was to have an awareness drug in it and tell what could happen through dependence on such a substance. Potable water was to be an analog for oil and for water itself, a substance whose supply diminishes every day. It was to be an ecological novel, then, with many overtones, as well as a story about people and their human concerns with human values. And I had to monitor each of these levels at every stage of the book. Let me send the challenge out to you before I finish the letter. Have you ever thought like this? Have you ever thought like this? Have you ever allowed your mind to create Now, I don't necessarily care what the creation is. I can use the example of writing a book. Have you ever thought about 10 chapters, 12 chapters, how they connect together, what the title of the book could be? Any of that stuff. It could go to music. It could go to software. I don't care. But have you ever allowed yourself to think like Frank Herbert? Continuing, there wasn't room in my head to think about much else. Following the first publication, reports from the publishers were slow and, as it turned out, inaccurate. The critics had panned it. More than 12 publishers had turned it down before publication. There was no advertising. Something was happening out there, though. For 2 years, I was swamped with bookstore and reader complaints that they could not get the book. The whole Earth catalog praised it. I kept getting these telephone calls from people asking me if I were starting a cult. The answer, God, no. What I'm describing is the slow realization of success. By the time the first 3 Dune books were completed, there was little doubt that this was a popular work, one of the most popular in history, I'm told, with some 10 million copies sold worldwide. Now, the most common question people ask, what does this success mean to you? Question mark. It surprises me. I didn't expect failure either. It was a work and I did it. Parts of Dune Messiah and Children of Dune were written before Dune was completed. They fleshed out more in the writing, but the essential story remained intact. I was a writer and I was writing. The success meant I could spend more time writing. And this is the line that I like, that Mike Covel likes, this line near the end. Looking back on it, I realized I did the right thing instinctively. You don't write for success. That takes part of your attention away from the writing. If you're really doing it, that's all you're doing, writing. There's an unwritten compact between you and the reader. If someone enters a bookstore and sets down hard-earned money, energy for your book, you owe that person some entertainment and as much more as you can give. That was really my intention all along. Frank Herbert. Back to that line that I just said that I liked. If you're really doing it, that's all you're doing, whether it's writing, coding, trading, whatever. If you're really doing it, that's all you're doing. That is the flow state. The professor, go find him. He unfortunately passed away. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, all about the flow state. If you're really doing it, that's all you're doing. And if you allow yourself to put yourself in the mindset of, if you're really doing it, that's all you're doing, it doesn't make a difference that Jim Cramer and Michael Burry disagree. It doesn't make a difference that MTV has put some crazy fat guy who may or may not be a man anymore on stage in a Red Devil outfit. I mean, yeah, a lot of things in the world these days, it's quite unusual to say the least. But if you're really doing it, that's all you're doing. What I'm giving you in that sentence, and I'm swapping it from Frank Herbert, that's the secret decoder ring. That's the way to get around the system, and it is a system, from search engines to AI to fake news, you name it. To get around the system, you got to fall in love. You got to fall in love with what you're doing. And if you fall in love with what you're doing, it doesn't make any difference what else is going on. I mean, if war comes, you're dead. If a dinosaur meteor hits us, it comes, you're dead. You can't prep for it. You can't do anything in advance. So why does it matter? And look, that's a reminder for me too. Sometimes I find myself in that state of incredulous. God, I can't believe how crazy people have become. But what you might not hear on this podcast, if I give a rant, if I lay it out, if I put the cold, hard truth out there, when I'm done, I don't walk away and start punching the wall. I don't kick a dog. I don't get into a fight on the street. I don't care. In the sense that, yes, I care what I say, but it doesn't stay with me. It doesn't go with me. In a sense, perhaps with this podcast, If you're really doing it, that's all you're doing. And when I stop, it's over. And as it turns out, over these many years, people like that I share an unvarnished, no bullshit, no PC, no system, no state perspective. You know I'm a free agent. I like being a free agent. Guess what? You like being a free agent too. Even if you're not a free agent, you like being a free agent. You just haven't got there yet, but you want to get there. I don't care how you get there. You can get there through trend following. You can get there through starting a business. You can become an entrepreneur of some sort. Maybe you can work for the man and get there. I highly doubt it. Look, I know plenty of people that have worked for the man their whole life, specifically government. They end up with a lot of money. It takes them 40 or 50 years. But what the hell did they do? What mark did they leave? They did a job that anyone else could have done. And if they were gone, they would have been replaced immediately. Oh, sure, if my podcast goes away, there's going to be other podcasts, but there won't be other me's. There will not be my perspective. That's not to smack myself on the back and say I'm all that. That's a simple reminder to you to keep chasing it, to keep striving, and to stay in the middle of it. As Herbert said, if you're really doing it, that's all you're doing. The second part of my conversation today, my monologue today, a few excerpts from a book that I find quite intriguing. I'm going to read a few quick chapters. Number 1, make time for emptiness. In our everyday lives, do any of us have time to think about nothing? I imagine most people would say, I don't have a moment to spare for that. We're pressed for time, pressured by work and everything else in our lives. Modern life is busier than ever. All day, every day, we try our best just to do what has to get done. If we immerse ourselves in this kind of routine, unconsciously, but inevitably, we lose sight of our true selves and of true happiness. Any given day, a mere 10 minutes is all you need. Try making time for emptiness, for not thinking about anything. Just try clearing your mind and not being caught up in the things around you. Various thoughts will float up in your mind, but try to send them away one by one. When you do so, you'll begin to notice the present moment, the subtle shifts in nature that are keeping you alive. When you're not distracted by other things, your pure and honest self can be revealed. Making time for not thinking about anything, that is the first step towards creating a simple life. Now, perhaps you did not even know you wanted a simple life, but you do want a simple life. I've said this on the podcast many times. People will text me and they tell me they are day trading. I will ask them what time frame they are day trading at. 5 minutes, 15 minutes, 1 hour. I think one guy said 5 seconds once. Now imagine you were to play that game out over years and years and years. What kind of life are you left with? How stable are you staring at a screen pretending that you are actually trading at these micro frequencies? You're not. And it's sure as hell not a simple life. Why do you think people like Ed Seykota sound so zen? Well, perhaps the answer is in the question. Let me read another quick chapter. Number 2, wake up 15 minutes earlier. When we are short on time, this scarcity extends to our heart as well. We automatically say, I'm busy, I don't have time. When we feel this way, our mind becomes even more hectic. But are we really busy? Aren't we the ones who are pushing ourselves to hurry? In Japanese, the character for busy is written with the symbols for lose and heart. It's not that we are busy because there isn't enough time. We are busy because there is no room in our heart. Especially when things are hectic. Try waking up 15 minutes earlier than usual. Lengthen your spine and take slow breaths from the point below your navel, the spot you refer to as the tandem. Once your breathing is in order, your mind will naturally settle into stillness as well. Then, while you enjoy a cup of coffee or tea, look out the window at the sky. Try to listen for the warbling of little birds. How peculiar. Just like that, you create space in your mind. Waking up 15 minutes earlier magically liberates you from busyness. Now, look, I'm not going to pretend to be any kind of a meditation expert. I've said it many times on this podcast. And I'm not giving myself an excuse either. Yoga is my form of meditation, the physical activity. I don't ever say that I don't have time, but I am that person that is going. But the exercise, the act of sweating, the act of pushing myself, that turns my brain off. It refreshes me. It's a testosterone boost. It's everything. So whether you can wake up 15 minutes early and do exercise, or whether you can wake up 15 minutes early and go down the meditation path, actually see one of my recent podcasts with Michael Covel, a trend-following guy who has a definite meditation mindset. You can do either way. It doesn't matter. But try to reframe how you look at the world each day. There's a lot of benefits there. And if you can get into this mindset, what are you doing? You're getting away from the man again. You're taking control of it all. Here's another one that I like. Discard what you don't need. When things aren't going well, we tend to think we are lacking in something. But if we want to change our current situation, we should first part with something before we look to acquire something else. This is a fundamental tenet of simple living. Discard your attachments, let go of your assumptions, reduce your possessions. Living simply is all about discarding your physical and mental burdens. It's amazing how refreshed we feel after a good cry. I can't say I cry a lot, but I get the point, right? Crying clears out whatever weight you were carrying in your heart. You feel energized to try again. I've always felt that the Buddhist concept of the enlightened mind, the Japanese characters for which depict a clean mind, refers to this refreshment of the spirit. The act of discarding, of detaching from mental and physical burdens, from the baggage that weighs us down, is extremely difficult. Sometimes it can be accomplished by real pain, as when we part with someone who is dear to us. But if you want to improve the way things are, if you want to live with a light heart, you must start by discarding. The moment you detach, a new abundance will flow into your life. Now, man, I'm telling you what, if you hear that last sentence and you are not thinking trend following, you're not thinking of Larry Height's book, The Rule, you're not thinking of stop losses, you're not thinking of David Ricardo and cutting your losses short, think about this. The moment you detach, a new abundance will flow into your life. The moment you detach, the moment that you cut your losses short. And if you cut your losses short, that puts you in a place to where the flow, the trend can happen and you can be on board. One last one that I really like, and then I will tell you what the name of this book is, which you should check out, because it's a great little leave it on the coffee table reminder book. The last one, make a delicious cup of coffee. What do you do when you want a cup of coffee? If you're at home, you turn on the coffee maker. Or if you're out, you buy a cheap cup of coffee. I don't know what kind of coffee is cheap these days, by the way. These are both perfectly natural, but imagine a different scenario. First, you go into the woods and collect firewood. You make a fire and boil water. As you grind the coffee beans, you look up at the sky and say, what a beautiful day. Coffee brewed this way is likely to taste much better than coffee from a machine. The reason why, perhaps, is because each step in the process has been brought to life, collecting firewood, starting the fire, grinding the beans. There is nothing extraneous in any of these actions. That is what I call living. Life requires time and effort. That is to say, when we eliminate time and effort, we eliminate life's pleasures. Every so often, experience the flip side of convenience. 100%. Convenience will absolutely be one of the reasons that humanity will implode at some stage in the future. That toughness, that resilience that we develop from being punched in the mouth, from being kicked in the balls, that shit's important. And if you're just a lemming sitting there at the fire hose of information, unable to pause for a moment, unable to digest yourself, to understand what the hell makes you tick. Are you scared of finding out what makes you tick? Do you not want to go there? Okay, but I'll guarantee you this. You'll wake up at some point in time in your life and you'll say, what the F was I doing? Why did I not pause? Why did I not breathe? Why did I not look to the sky? Why did I not take a walk? Why did I not do that yoga class? Why did I not go for that run? Why did I not stop eating? I wanted to share today because I think in this moment of nonstop negative energy, nonstop shit, it's worth thinking about how have the masters over the millennia thought? Now, they did not have all of our distractions, but they had distractions. They had people that were too emotional. They had things they had to navigate. And they figured out mindsets and rules that are timeless. It's just up to you. Will you reach back? Will you find something from the past that you can use today that will make your life better? I sure hope you do. Oh my gosh, as I had such a sweet outro there. The book that you should check out is called Zen, The Art of Simple Living. Go give it a shake. I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.